fiction, science fiction, horror, fantasy, crime, LGBT, thriller.
You have now entered the House of Mystery with your hosts, Eric Shapiro, David North Martino, John Copenhaver, and Al Warren. Good on KCK 106.5 FM Los Angeles,
102.3 FM Riverside,
and 105.0 AM Palm Springs.
Welcome back into the House of Mystery. I'm Al Warren. Mr. Joe Goldberg is here. It's lots of action today.
It's an action day.
Yeah.
It's an action spring break, so it's an action day.
Yeah, spring break, and it's crazy, and I've been out. Are you excited about the Seattle Left Coast crime in a couple of weeks?
I'm actually ready to go. I've never been there. I'll meet a lot of new people, and hopefully expecting to learn a lot, get into a new genre.
Well, there you go. Escape espionage. Yes. I'm breaking in my new sneakers, because I don't want them to be too white when I get there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Gotta do that.
Then I'll stick out. So I've been wearing them around, trying to get them scuffed up.
How vain. How
vain. I know. Isn't that bad? I'm terrible. I'm terrible. Now, speaking of scuffed up sneakers, actually,
which has no segue relevance whatsoever.
No, but it just is something to say, right? People don't really listen. Come on. So we got a great writer, and his book 3 of the Danny Ryan trilogy is out, and it's City in Ruins, and Don Winslow. So thank you for being here, Don.
Thanks for having me. I just took off my scuffed up sneakers, as a matter of fact. I was helping chase the neighbor's escaped rabbit around.
Tell me that's a joke.
It's not a joke. I was leaving the office after one of these interviews on the way to the house, which is, 50 yards away up the dirt road. We live way out in the country here, and this poor little kid is crying, and the grandmother's trying to catch a rabbit. And so, so I helped catch the rabbit, and my sneakers got all soaked. So that is your segue. I literally just changed out of them. So
he knew.
I knew.
The thing is, the kid was crying because grandma wanted the rabbit for dinner.
Yeah.
That was good in the pot. Right?
That is cold. We're not that far out in the country.
Yeah, she's cooking it right now.
The rabbit had a name. Come on, guys.
Right?
We had to catch.
It's called Yummy.
We had to catch Spot. I mean, there's lots of wild rabbits around here, but
it's crazy.
All right.
Well, do you like going to these shows too? Do you like going to these events and conventions and things like that? Do you find it's a good thing?
Yeah, sometimes. Listen, I mean, you have to have time to write, so you can't go to too many of them. But yeah, I usually have a good time. It's always good to see readers. You run into, other writers that and hang out. So yeah, it's good. Now, I've been to Seattle. I've been to Left Coast Crime. I've never been to Left Coast Crime in Seattle. So there you go. Yeah.
Well, it should be good. I mean, it's my own city.
Yeah.
Is it too vain to have new sneakers and break them in a little bit? So
No. I think it is. I worry about you. I think maybe something a little older, a little grubbier.
Yeah. I know.
Maybe use flip flops from the.
No, don't do flip flops.
Flip-flops.
Don't do the Crocs either.
No.
No. That's just sad.
No.
I don't know. Do you have any scuffed up brown leather shoes, like sort of Tom Waitsy kind of stuff?
I do, but they're not even enough, and they cause backache and all.
I see. The heels are not even. They call it the shorts. Yeah. How did you get the heels uneven? You're just walking one way somewhere all the time and taking Uber back? Yeah.
In circles in a string in a room, and they said always walk counterclockwise. No, actually, years ago, back in the 90s, these shoes are from the 90s when I used to work at Nordstrom department store and sell stuff. So they're really old, and I used to wear them down, I guess. I was probably standing a lot on the inside of my heels with all these, stuck up people coming in and buying stuff and telling me to do things.
There's a book there.
There's a book there. I thought
characters, types of shoes.
I thought about it, but I know I have some names. Some of them are names, and I think that would be bad.
But it's interesting. It's interesting. You still keep the shoes. You obviously have some sort of attachment to that era.
I do actually, but actually, to tell the truth, I don't think I keep the shoes for the attachment reason. I'm just very. I hold on to everything, which is really sad.
Oh,
I gotta start throwing away stuff. You know?
How about books though? The books are eating my house, you know?
Yeah.
I lucked out in a way. I had a fire in my house almost 7 years ago.
Oh,
exactly.
well, lucky you.
But because it smoked out a lot of my books, unfortunately, but at least there was a reason I couldn't keep them around because they couldn't be clean. I did keep the ones I needed to keep, wanted to keep, but a lot of them went, I gave them away because they smelled like smoke. So the good and the bad. But I'll ask the question. I'll segue us to actual writing, which is, and this is sort of a stupid question, which is, what shoes does Danny Ryan wear? What does he wear in Rhode Island versus Las Vegas versus Hollywood?
Interesting question. I don't know if I've got that detail level on the wardrobe. Yeah, probably just work boots in Rhode Island and, I don't know, Hugo Boss or something in Vegas. Who knows? We had a house sitter set our house on fire, actually, which.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it was this kid, and then he told me this ridiculous story about how the fire started. And I said, when you were in our house, did you happen to notice a book titled California Fire and Life, which is all about arson? I wrote that book, so don't tell me this story again.
What's his name, Joe? Was he smoking?
Smoking Joe. Very good.
Smoking Joe. I was actually smoking meat, so don't get me started.
He was smoking something else and tried to tell me that he left a match or something in the liquor cabinet and that the vodka bottle spontaneously exploded. And I didn't bother to tell him why that was impossible, but,
Well, there's another book here coming.
Yeah, maybe.
Spontaneous combustion.
Brown shoes and spontaneous combustion. You could sing that if you had a tune. Yeah.
Actually, you could. There's a whole wing of people that would buy that.
I'm sure.
Yeah. I won't tell you that.
That's what's sad about this.
Yeah. Which wing is it?
Well,
it's
not hard to tell.
I can take a left instead of a right,
Well, listen. So, City of Ruins. This is it. Book 3. So, when you do a series with someone like this, how do you let go of your character?
Well, look, guys, it took me nigh on 30 years to write this book, right? So I think, I've spent probably more time with Danny Ryan than maybe any other actual person in my life. But when it was time, and I think that the ending works and it's what it's supposed to be. And I was ready to let him go.
Is Danny Ryan a good lover or?
Oh,
you'd have. Wow.
Talk to the Hollywood starlets.
This is the interview of different questions that you're going to get. This is not like
this is not like the where do I get my ideas?
No.
Oh, I'm working towards that one. So.
Okay, work up to that, would you? Listen, I think he is. I don't snoop around a lot in his bedroom, but he was, as someone there alluded to, the lover of a Hollywood star. So I think he's probably pretty good.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Well, let's go with the Greek tragedy. You've asked it a million times. It's no secret that this was based on the trilogies. And as I'm reading it, and I'm going to admit, I've got 100 pages left. I've been reading and writing, and oh man, don't tell me the end. Don't tell me the end.
Oh, I was just about to. Okay, all right.
Yeah, although I know a little bit of the Greek stuff, so maybe piece those together.
Yeah.
But so I'm actually thinking, I'm in the midst of creating my next book. Everybody knows I ask questions to help me.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about you.
Yeah.
It's all about me.
Yeah.
So I want to be Don Winslow when I grow up. Yeah. With hair. Sorry. I had to do. I'm the only guy with hair on this phone call.
Wow.
Wow.
We're a different way this is
hang
going to
Click.
Yeah.
I'm on spring break. I can say whatever I want.
I'm sorry. The connection is just getting really bad here. The internet went out.
Wow. And he calls me rude.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Okay, I almost never do that, but he's a good guy. So, but
this would be the hair, the head of white hair I'm looking at in the screen.
Yeah, thank you very much. That came out of Motorola that took about a year to go from black to white.
Okay.
When it fell apart. So I'm thinking about Danny Ryan building character. All right. So the shoe thing is a joke, haha. But there's a lot.
Go ahead.
but the question is for me is you've created a character built upon characters who are well known. They have themes behind them.
Sure.
Was Danny Ryan a American mythological Greek guy in our time? The way he's built?
No, I don't think so. Look, I mean, Aeneas is a minor player in the Iliad, and then goes on, of course, to be the central player in the Aeneid, which was Roman. I liked him because he's sort of an outsider. He's got one foot in the gang and one foot out, and so he can comment on it. So I think he's a Greek/Roman mythological character, but I was trying really hard, and maybe I failed, I guess, to make him just a fully contemporary, fully human guy,
Well, no, you didn't fail. That's why I was asking the question, because there's this character that's built. He is who he is, right? And he's going through these trials, and he's in different locations, and he reacts to those locations and those trials in his way.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes him such an interesting character, is that he's not just the same robot running through. He's learning and growing. And I'm certain that was intentional as you were building the character out.
Yeah, listen, I always knew this was going to be a trilogy, right? And I always knew that, it fell into three distinct parts. One, when he's fighting in this losing war. Two, when he's a fugitive and, wandering the world trying to find a place to put his feet. And three, when he builds an empire. So I knew that this character was going to have to go from this low level, mob guy, longshoreman/fisherman, up to a guy who's a billionaire, owning Las Vegas mega hotels. And so with that, hopefully comes some character development or evolution or something, At the same time, I think in literary terms, every classical hero has to have a tragic flaw. And Danny's is loyalty. And I think loyalty, forces him, or causes him rather, to do some questionable, sometimes dumb things.
Should writers look to classic works for things as they're writing their contemporary stuff?
Yeah,
definitely. Is that a good place to start?
I think so. Look, I think whether we do it consciously or not, it's such a part of our culture, I think in my beloved crime genre, and I'm very, very much inside that genre, right? That's where I live. I think that we look to our roots in too shallow a soil. We look back to, of course, as we should, to Raymond Chandler and those guys. And then we look back a little further to, A. Conan Doyle and Sherlock Holmes. But really, we should be looking to Dickens, for instance. I don't know what Oliver Twist is if it isn't a crime novel. And we should look to Shakespeare. The Godfather is a retelling of Shakespeare's Henry IV. We should look to Don Quixote, one of the first people to write about a criminal underclass. And then, back to the classics. But whether we sort of consciously know it or not, guys, those classical themes are so imbued into all of our literature and all of our culture that we feed off them.
And don't forget, you have to look at some of the classic books that Joe's written.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention those because they were too obvious.
Such a slight. But the question, and I'm glad you answered that, because actually, I'll be honest, I'm now ripping off Don Winslow's style from the point of view of, I'm building a character out. I'm going, is there a mythological, because I love that stuff as I was in school, that I can build my character on, I can help draw it. And I found almost immediately.
Who was it?
Pandora.
Well, there you go. And
Curiosity.
Why not? Yeah, and why not? Listen, we haven't invented anything really, have we? Once the Greeks and Romans finished up, all the themes and a lot of the stories are done. Some of the plots of these books are taken from Aeschylus's The Oresteia trilogy. Look at the plot. Guy comes home from the war. His wife has a lover. She blames him for their child's death. She and the lover murder him, right? They drown him in the bathtub. Then his son comes home from the war, finds out who did what to his dad, murders his mother and her lover, runs away. Then some ferocious prosecutors relentlessly track him down, bring him back to trial. And in fact, the first trial scene in Western literature, well, that's a noir story arc. You put that in black and white and put a trumpet behind it, you've got a 1940s movie. Well, now it got quiet there.
Yeah,
well,
we're
just
both
like-
we're musing. We're musing. Three muses, two muses.
Well, I was lighting my grill on to start cooking some
Cooking
meat.
your shoes.
Is that real? Yeah, cooking some old brown shoes. Are you really lighting a grill up? What are you having?
No, I was just gonna barbecue. Burn down my house like Joe.
Oh, there you go.
I have a couple.
Which
the
is,
thing-
by the way, the perfect way if you want to burn your house down and still get the insurance company to pay for it. Bring your grill inside, because
Well, that's where it ended up when everything blew up. It actually
Because-
ended up inside my house.
stupidity is not excluded in your contract. It's covered.
That's right. I mean, they said it was not intentional. No
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah, just say, yeah, I'm an idiot.
They actually had to do an investigation to find out that I was an idiot,
Yeah.
which is exactly what they did.
Yeah, I could tell him.
Yeah, I could.
Anybody can. Thank
Yeah.
you. Stand in line.
You're
Stand
welcome.
in line.
No.
Yeah.
No, there's a little payback in these things. You know?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. You're mean.
yeah. From my bald head to your
Yeah.
your idiocy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, that's the title of a book. I'm writing that one down.
Yeah.
I'm all that.
There you go.
Yeah.
My journey across America.
This is the
Yeah.
unknown book 4.
Empty heads on top and inside. There you go.
One big hollow.
One big
Shell.
hollow shell.
The listeners are clicking off now.
They are.
Well-
they're all. I could kill your show, man. I've killed.
No,
other-
they're actually
Don't worry
enjoying
No,
this.
you're good at killing. Don't
Yeah,
do
no,
that.
serial killer.
They're enjoying this, actually. They're having a good time. They
I've
probably-
killed off lots of people.
I mean, and you have, and we know that this is your last book and all that sort of stuff, and if people know why, they know why.
Yeah.
But and I know you're being asked, is this going to be your last book? And
Yeah.
how do you know, right?
I
That type of-
know. Yeah.
But you do have inside you as a writer that thing. And what's the other way to get that thing to do something
Well,
rather than books?
yeah. Listen, I'll probably always write. I'm just not always going to publish. I might just write for myself for fun. Yeah.
Well, how about the movie? Are you involved in that?
I'm involved to the extent that I read the scripts and I'll probably take them out on location, which I was going to do, and then the strikes hit. But no, they're pretty good about it. Typically, I mean, they'll send me the screenplay or the television script or whatever project it happens to be, and I'll read it and give them notes. A lot of times I'll sit down with the director or the actors or, haul them around to the actual locations or the art department people and that kind of thing. But that's the extent of my involvement. I might go to the set and say hello, like once, but, a novelist is sort of the vestigial bone on the body's cinema. You're the little toe. They don't really want you around for, very long.
You're the least important person there.
Absolutely. But that's real. I mean, truly, once the screenplay's written and they're shooting, now it's a director's medium. It's really up to the actors. And there's not a lot for you to do except stand around the craft services table and get fat,
Yeah, but that's good.
I like, listen,
Okay, put me in the movie business.
listen, I'm all for free food. We all know free food tastes better, right?
Yeah.
And I wrote a scene about that in the second of these books, about these two Rhode Island punks, because I just imagine the guys I grew up with if you offered them free food,
I was laughing when I was reading that. I absolutely was.
Yeah, they're like raccoons. I mean, and you're never getting rid of them,
Listen, so what's the secret to your dialogue? Like, how do you get it the way it is? That's a really stupid question.
No,
But
it's not. It's a good question.
Oh.
And because at first I remember when Joe told me to read your books, like before.
Well, thank you, Joe. I take
I'm
it.
a fan.
I take it all back. Yeah.
And I said, why? And he said, he must be good. He must be
Why?
good because he's bald, right?
Why?
Oh, no.
No.
Because of?
No, and then so then I remember when I started reading the first one of this series, listening to, because I'm old and can't see.
Yeah.
Do
Do you want me to speak up? Or
who are you? No,
What?
no, actually, and then I went after a couple of chapters, I just stopped listening, and then later I went back to it, and I really liked it the second time. But it's particularly on how you can express people in the way you write dialogue, if that if you understand what I'm saying.
I think so. Listen, we've been joking around, but I don't want to give you a sarcastic answer, The truth of it is, and it sounds a little weird, I won't start typing until the characters are talking to me, right? Until, you're out taking that walk and Danny just won't shut up, or one of the altar boys just won't shut up. And when I'm walking, I'm often writing dialogue and in my head. And as I do it, I just keep refining it and refining it and refining it, to the point where then I come back and I try to write it down. The other thing I do, is read it out loud to myself. I won't hear the right notes, but I will hear the wrong notes. Is that an answer? I
wrote it down. I wrote it down next to our last interview, and you said something, and I've incorporated it because I'm a fan, and you're one of the best, in my opinion, of all time, without a doubt. But you talked about how you would I'm pretty sure it was you would take a day off and you just look at the verbs.
Just the verbs, yeah. Yeah,
that's great.
I still do that. Yeah. Yeah, because, in our genre, verbs are everything, right? Because we're, at the end of the day, we're an action genre. And so I think the verbs get all the work done. And, is it the best one? Is it the most accurate? Am I using an adverb because I haven't used the right verb? Could I get rid of that adverb if I found a better verb? Is there something in there that would make a sentence more poetic or more rhythmic or something, Yeah. Yeah. The other weird thing I do is I sit back from the screen so that I can't see the actual words, but only the shape of the words on the page. And then I ask myself, does it look like what it is? If it's an action sequence, is it really dense? If it's a scene where I want the reader to contemplate more, have I left enough white space for that? I know it sounds a little insane.
Well, I just told that story in the car because those are the two things I wrote down.
Oh, okay. Repeating myself to you.
No, not for me. It validates it and it reminds me how important it is. If people out there who are writing, I incorporated it from the moment you said that, and it's makes such a difference.
But
it makes me a better writer.
A number of years ago, maybe, 15 or 20 years ago now, I realized that I was losing my sense of dialogue. And I called up a local little theater company. And I said, can I come do a play as an actor for a couple of months? Because I wanted to get back to for lack of a better expression, the muscularity of words. How they felt and how they sounded and how actors were dealing with them, and did they feel real or did they feel false? So getting back and doing that, doing like a tough 2-hour play, 4 or 5 nights a week, really helped me get back to hoping, to writing what I hope is good dialogue.
And you should explain what verb and adverb is for Joe.
Man.
Thank you very much.
Boy, every time it warms up in this room, man, somebody chucks in some dry ice,
Yeah. What's a dictionary?
Yeah. What's a dictionary? Yeah. A thesaurus, which is just too many punchlines for the time we have.
That's right. That's right.
So when you're saying you're hearing, you wait till they talk to you, how long does that take for you to get to know?
Months, or sometimes it's taken years. I delayed writing a book called The Force about the NYPD, because it took years to just really hear those voices. And then when I started writing Danny, I've been living out on the West Coast for the most part for the last 20 years, although we started to go back to Rhode Island to take care of my mom, actually. And so it took a couple of years of being back in Rhode Island for about 5 or 6 months a year to start hearing that dialect, which is really more about rhythms, than it is about pronunciation, because that doesn't really come through on the page, but, it took me, quite a while to really hear that again and integrate it and also enjoy it, to start liking it again.
It's interesting. Do you ever get worried about, a character not getting full enough or timing and stuff because you're sitting there and it takes months or even longer? Do you ever get to a point where sometimes you think you're not going to be able to get a story out of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And there are times when that's been the truth, when I've just thrown 300-400 pages away, because I know, there was a bad idea, or I'm not capable of doing it, or, something, there's a fatal flaw in it somewhere and it's never going to work. So I just, leave it and go on to something else. With this trilogy, I know that I threw away 300 to 400 pages of really bad writing. Danny, it just wasn't, the second part. And of course, second acts are famously where stories go to die, right?
Right.
That in trying to come up with the second book, the second act, I just kept getting it wrong and getting him wrong, and it took me a while to get my head on straight about that.
Let's see what would happen to me, being the nobody, is that I would just get impatient. I want to get something out.
Yeah.
Let's get this book out. How do you rein in? Of course, you write lots of different stuff, but how do you rein in impatience?
I am the most impatient person in the freaking world, right?
Take you on.
It's something I really don't like about myself, among many possible candidates, right? But, no, that's why this book took me 30 years to write, these 3 books, because I kept putting them away because they sucked, and I was doing stuff that just wasn't working. And then, I'd write a book and then I'd think, let's go back to Danny. Let's give it another whirl. And then, and then some good ideas came, and it started to work. I don't know, I think impatience though can be a virtue. There are times when I just want to write something fast, and it's a matter of picking the right scene to write fast.
I have to ask, I asked this of a lot of writers, this whole process, and it took you so long, and you put these 3 books together, and now this is it. That process that you went through, what did you get out of that? And how did it change you? And the reason I ask is because now that you're leaving this profession, you're going to come into, doing other things. How do you replace that, whatever it is that you get from writing?
Yeah, I don't know yet. I'm not being coy. I don't know yet. I've been doing, you alluded to it a little bit earlier, doing some kind of political stuff. Right. Which is a very, very different kind of writing, of course. I don't really feel retired yet, guys, to tell you the truth, because, I'm doing this right now, right? And the book is coming out. And although I finished the 3rd book, over a year ago, I've been playing around with other stuff just for my own satisfaction. I've been doing some research in some areas which I'm really enjoying. So I don't have an answer to that yet. We'll find out. The easy answer, but it's also true, is I want to take longer walks. I want to catch more waves,
But you're going to hear voices when you're walking.
I know. I did it this morning. I went out and did a few miles and, they start yapping at you.
How do you know it's a voice of a character?
What?
That was on the wind blowing through your hair joke.
Oh. It was a good try.
Stay on theme. Stick with that rhyme.
It was a good effort.
I tried. I swung into this.
Yeah. Listen, 1 out of 3 and you're a superstar, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends who are creative, they have other outlets, like they're painters or they write songs. Now, do you have something like that that's not writing related? Because
no,
you're about as creative as a rock. Right?
That's about it, man. I'm really a pretty dull guy. Kind of a donkey. I just kind of go to work and pull stories along. I don't have other creative outlets. I really don't. This is it. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
I don't paint, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well,
listen, I the thought of like me going out now and going, I'm going to do watercolors or something, makes me nauseated to just that kind of thought, that I'm going to be.
I'm glad I can nauseate you.
Thank you. Yeah. No. Yeah. That just, the thought of that terrifies me. I don't want to be that guy, So I don't know. But, I'll keep surfing. I'll keep body surfing, keep hiking, do some other things. I helped sponsor a little baseball team in Rhode Island, the Ocean State Waves. They play in June and July. It's all college kids from the summers. And, so I sponsor stolen bases. So when the home team steals a base, you hear, That stolen base was brought to you by Don Winslow's crime novels. And I have this
I love it.
satisfaction of seeing a couple hundred people look bewildered, What? Who? Huh? What? Yeah. So that's fun. I do that in the summer. I go to, these little baseball games and stuff.
Oh, that's great.
It is great. Yeah. Why do hot dogs only taste good at baseball games? It's the same stuff, right? But
Because it's supposed to taste good.
I guess.
Your mind deceiving yourself.
I guess we get back to American mythology, right? But like someone says to me now, you want a hot dog? I go, no, but like at the baseball game, I really want the hot dog. Why? How did we get on this? Are you guys really unhappy you had me on the show?
We're letting you go. You're the guest.
I don't know.
Free
Just
reign.
wherever
you want.
Wandering around.
Well, we do an interview in a loose way. We want to get to know the person that writes. We want to get to know the person that creates whatever they do. And I think that's the best way to understand the person.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
See what you like, what you don't like, what you into, what do you, like what's in it? What's in the day life with Don Winslow? What does he do? He gets up in the morning.
And writes. Writes. Listen, I get up. I was up at 4:30 this morning for no reason, but it's just habit. Like late in the afternoon, I'll usually listen to jazz for a while. It's sort of my decompression, I guess is the word, thing. I'm a big jazz guy. So I'll do that. No, I'm really pretty dull, as you're discovering on this interview. I just kind of work. But look, I mean, I loved doing it. It was, and it was a long time coming. I've wanted to be a writer since I was 6 years old, and the world disagreed with that assessment for, the better part of my life. I didn't get any kind of success, depending on how you define that, until I was, in my 50s.
Well, let me ask one question, back to the book thing. On last time we asked you, we always ask her, like, his setting as a character, but how did you get to Vegas? How did deep old Vegas come into your book? What kind of, did you go there and munch around and talk a bunch of old Vegas people?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Listen, when I was a PI, I had a couple of cases there, and I got pretty tight with Metro, Las Vegas, PD, sheriff's office. So yeah, I did. Because here was the thing, I was following the story arc of the Aeneid, right? And in the last part of the Aeneid, what Aeneas does is he goes and he builds an empire. Well, what would the contemporary equivalent of that be, right? And I tried a bunch of different things and they didn't work. They just weren't good enough. And this is embarrassing. It took me so long to hit on it. I thought, where can you build an empire? And I thought, well, hell, build anything you want in Las Vegas if you have the cash, right? They did build Rome there, right? Caesar's palace, and Paris, Venice, a pirate ship, whatever the hell. And so once I hit on that, then it really opened the last part of Danny's life up for me. And then, Las Vegas is just, 5-hour drive up the road from us. And so, I just go there and, but I did have a chance to talk to some of those old guys, which was pretty fascinating. They're fun, they're fun. They're still around, not many of them, but they're still around.
Well, there's something in what you said too, and I have this, which goes back to my impatience connection, is I write something, I kind of like it. And I'm like, what can I do to make that fit as opposed to what I need to have to make my story roll?
Right.
Sound familiar?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So how do you get what did you do? I mean, how does it feel to say, I really like this thing, but I gotta cut it.
You
do that.
You gotta lean away from the catnip, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, ooh, there's the candy, right? But I really do need, the vegetables and the steak and all of that, write it and then forget about it, write it, enjoy it. Get it out of your system and then move on. Yeah, I know. No, it's painful. Or write a short story. I've done that sometimes. I mean, I did a book of novellas, not exactly short stories, but novellas. And I did a couple of things for Amazon Audible that were ideas that would not sustain a novel, right? The sort of thing you're talking about, like, oh, this is really funny. This is really cool. And I did one about a chimpanzee who finds a revolver. Which is a dumb idea. It's one of my favorite sentences I've ever written, though. Nobody knows how the chimp got the revolver, and then I just made up the story from there, about the cop who has to answer the call and all of that. And it was just fun, but it would never sustain a novel, but it was a pretty decent kind of short story novella. I did another one called Crime 101, which was sort of an homage to Steve McQueen. And now it's headed for the movies. So you never know.
He died a tragic death, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. A tragic childhood too, It's sad. But God, what a great actor. And talk about American mythological characters. I mean, he's the ultimate California cool, isn't he?
Right. Absolutely.
There's that t-shirt that's out there, always be yourself unless you can be Batman, then be Batman. I feel the same way about Steve McQueen, always be yourself, but if you could be Steve McQueen, be Steve McQueen.
Well, there you have it.
Which prompts another hair joke that you guys didn't.
No,
no, that's...
Well, I was thinking about characters playing Danny Ryan, right? And
yeah.
Do you have the characters in your head? Is that how you saw him in your head when you were writing him?
Oh, you mean Austin? I never have an actor's image in my head, ever, because only bad things can happen, right?
Tell me why, because I do that. I do the opposite.
Oh.
I got to see him.
Because you end, listen, I think you can have your own image of what the guy looks like, but for me, it should not be an actor, because I'll end up writing a bad film treatment instead of a decent novel. Because once you imitate his look, you're going to start imitating his voice and his inflection and all of that, and it's not going to be any good. Now, I had an idea of what Danny looked like, and Austin's pretty close to that. Plus, he's a good guy, right? Like Austin. Smart guy. He's a down-to-earth guy. I don't know if you saw Masters of the Air.
Fantastic.
Yeah, right? And I thought he was terrific in that. And obviously Elvis. I haven't seen Dune 2 yet, but I probably will. So yeah, it's a good choice for Danny.
Does he still sound like Elvis?
No, not at all. Not at all. Listen, I liked that movie, and I'm not an Elvis fan. I couldn't care less.
Right.
Right? It's never been a thing with me, right? But I'm a Springsteen kind of guy, but he was great in it. It was a really good film.
That's great. It's good if you can, I guess if they take it in a place that you don't necessarily like it to be, is that okay?
No, it's not okay at all. Listen, early in my career, I thought it would be okay. I thought I would be that guy who would just cash the check and say goodbye, I mean, Ken Kesey famously said, they asked him if he'd watched, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and he said, no, that would be like buying a ticket to watch your daughter being raped. And my response was, well, you shouldn't have sold her to a brothel. I thought that until I saw, unfortunately bad version of one of my books, and I was shocked at how much it hurt. As my New Orleans grandmother might have said, it hurt. I'm sitting in an audience full of people hating on that movie, and that's a long drive home, boys. So after that, I got more involved, and contractually and all that. I said, I just want a seat at the table. You don't have to agree with me. I understand that they're two different breeds of cat with different needs. I'm not stupid. 1,000 years before you guys were editing, we guys were editing. I understand compression and all of that, but if you're going to make serious major changes, I want to hear the reason why. And if you can convince me, fair enough. Yeah.
What's that? American Fiction. Have you seen that?
I haven't. I want to.
Just watched it about 2 days ago.
Yeah, it's good, huh? Yeah. Well, he's he's a terrific actor, man.
Unbelievable.
Come on,
Unbelievable.
I would, it's a cliche, but I would watch him read the phone book. It's like Peter Dinklage I'd watch do anything, right? Jeffrey Wright's great, so yeah.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's as a writer, you'll really enjoy it.
Cool. Yeah.
It's pretty fun in that way.
Yeah.
But, it's kind of strange because I know when we had Ann Cleves on, she said that a lot of the shows that have been made from her books, she has to distance herself with because sometimes the lead actor or actress takes it, they make that character their own.
Yeah.
And they take it places that she would never go.
Right. But listen, you want them to make that character their own. right? Otherwise it's going to stink, right? They have to adopt it. They have to have ownership of that character, or you're going to get a bad performance. You just are. And so, yeah, it might be different from what you've envisioned, but that's something that you need to live with. And I've had the experience where I thought that actors made my writing better, you know, or sometimes it happened to me recently, a director, screenwriter, in fact, doing this Crime 101 I alluded to. And I read the script and I went, damn, it's better than my story. You know, because he had more time, right? Mine was a short story and he had, you know, an expansive, you know, feature-length screenplay to develop, especially one of the characters more. And he was very nervous about it. He said, "Oh my God, did you mind?" And I said, "No, actually, I wish I'd done that." So you to get
down the stairs.
Yeah, no, but it goes both ways. You know, and there are things I've done that are, you know, seriously irritated me. I'm not going to give examples. Yeah,
I almost started to ask. I said, "Back up."
You can guess. You know, yeah, but yeah. Those three people.
I'm a fan, remember?
Yeah, those people die at the end. You know, but
bang.
Yeah, they're dead. But you know, but it cuts both ways. But I'm not one of those novelists that looks down on screenwriters or looks down on the filmmaking process. It's extremely difficult, I think, to write a good screenplay, and especially a good screen adaptation, and to pull it off on film. That's a tough thing to do.
So who's been your this is kind of, but who's been your favorite character to write?
Oh, that's a tough one. You know, I mean, I like Danny a lot. Some of the minor characters, though, in the books, you know, like the Altar Boys in the Danny Ryan trilogy. There was a reporter in a book of mine called The Cartel, and I'm forgetting the name of the character, which is just terrible.
Me too.
That I thought was going to be Pablo Mora. I thought was going to be a really minor character. I really sort of invented him as a tool to guide us around Juarez in those years. And I thought, well, a newspaper reporter would be, you know, a good person to do that. And then I ended up liking him so much that he became a major character. Madeline, Danny's mother in this trilogy, I never expected to have as big a role, you know, as she's had. In terms of just like people, maybe if they were real, that I'd like to hang out with or like to know. I wrote a book a number of years ago called Frankie Machine. The Winter of Frankie Machine, also headed to the movies, by the way.
Yay.
Yay. Have you seen, The Bear? Chicago.
Oh, the TV show?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Chris Storer, who invented, you know, that as the showrunner and writer, that he's going to be making Frankie Machine after season 3 of The Bear. And I loved The Bear. I was so excited when I found out that Storer wanted to do this. But Frankie, you know, that old guy, I don't know, man. I have a soft spot in my heart for him. I think he reminds me of some of the older guys that, you know, used to sort of hang out in the neighborhood where I grew up. You know, those, you know, 50-ish, 60s Italian guys. And yeah, I just have a fondness. Maybe you might call it nostalgia.
Now listen, so, you're still going to be social media. You're still around with what you're doing, and website and everything's the same. And
all that carries on. Absolutely.
All that carries on.
'Cause look, it has to, right? We're on the brink. I mean, I called Trump a fascist in 2015, and people called me an alarmist and a fantasist, and, you know, you're way overboard. And then January 6th happens, right? And an attempted coup, a push, if you will. I wasn't happy to be proven right, by the way. You know, I wish it had gone the other way. But now, you know, I mean, it boggles my mind that a traitor, a guy who tried to overthrow the government of the United States is now going to be the Republican candidate for president.
You couldn't have written the story. You could have written that in fiction. You probably couldn't have sold it.
Wouldn't have, right? And so, you know, so look, I'm not a big name, you know, got a certain following. The videos have a huge following, right? It's crazy. It's like 300 million views on those videos. 300 million. But whatever platform I have, I need to put into that fight, you know?
It doesn't interfere with your books and sales and stuff. Like, cause I know I get a lot of negative.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You
Tucker
think
Carlson was after me and
was he? Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
he's
good.
an
That's
awful man.
That's a badge of honor because he's a total baboon, you know,
Yeah.
and that whole coterie of apes. So good for you, man. Yeah, I get a lot of negative stuff. I get a lot of threats, you know. But you know, most of these people are physical as well as moral cowards. And that's the thing, you know, about the what we do on social media and the videos, you know, is these guys are bullies, right? They just are. They like to pick on people who can't fight back. And they're schoolyard bullies, man. They're really tough until someone punches them in the nose. And then the first thing they do, like Tucker Carlson, is go running to teacher. Oh, but he was mean to me. He hit me in the nose, you know? And I don't know if you're PG or R or what language I can use here, but, you know, screw them. You know, I'm happy to punch him in the nose, man. I don't mind at all.
Well, it takes a while to get that kind of emotional strength because if you're not used to it, it surprises you. You know what I mean? It takes you back when people,
I kind of don't
say
know
some
what you
real
mean.
awful things. Well, when I first started getting it, it was pretty aggressive and they wanted to, you know, kill me and all.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and you're just not used to that. At first you're like, wow, okay, wow. And then they started sending me pictures of, you know, guys with their arms up at buttons.
Oh, God.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, but it's shocking. That's all. It just throws you when you start getting over it.
Yeah, I'm usually pretty cool about it. I usually don't respond. You know, every once in a while I lose my temper. I sent back a message a few months ago saying, you know, you better brush your tooth and go to bed. Your sister's getting sleepy.
There's a verbal clutter there. Can you go slower? Don, what's exactly what you meant by that?
You know, every once in a while, I just feel like, shove it, you know, I'm sick of you. But I mean, here's the thing, you know, one thing that I worry about, sort of generally speaking, our side of this thing is that we want to be so nice, you know, that the people with the, you know, KPBS license plate frames and, you know, driving the Priuses and all that. God bless them, liberals, but they just always want to be nice. Well, the other side isn't nice, you know? They're just not, man. And we keep bringing spoons to a knife fight. And I didn't grow up that way, you know? Right. And, you know, I'll bring a knife to a knife fight.
Yeah, but you're doing videos, right?
Yeah, we do videos and we do, you know, I do tweets and they can be pretty nasty. You know, we speak and by we, the videos, I mean, my buddy and agent and co-conspirator Shane Salerno and I, we're doing these videos. We speak in some pretty strong, pretty plain, sometimes nasty language. You know, I think one thing we need to do with the Trumps of the world is humiliate them, you know.
Words have power.
Words have power.
But it's so emotionally driven. How do you get someone? Because what I'm saying is, you can say as much truth and give as much evidence as possible on a subject, but they're so emotional about their charge, they don't care.
Well, listen, you're never going to change his hardcore, right? As the comedian Ron White once said, apropos of something else, you can't fix stupid. But there are people on the edges that you can influence. You know, I live in an area. I live on an old ranch, and I think it voted 75% Republican. But I had an old rancher call me up the other day, you know, and he said, "Hey, Don, I'm fed up with Trump. I'm done." Great. The other thing I think we do, though, is mobilize the core. You know, is that people who might be sitting on the fence, right? Now, you know, we can motivate them, right, to, you know, get off the fence and get up there and vote.
It sure changed, but, you know, in the sense of how you can run for a political place like being president. I mean, just, you know, in our lifetime, you know, look at the people that they couldn't even run because of an affair with someone or something. And now you've got someone that can be charged and so many things against them, and yet it's okay. Like him, even if it wasn't who he was, if you just take any person and put them back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, even the 90s, and had this kind of record of what he's been doing, he just would have never survived. So
it should have been over
Right.
when he mocked that disabled reporter.
Right.
That should have been enough.
I don't understand how far
I don't
we've
either.
come. Like
No.
we've changed so much as a society that this is okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's the hard fight.
Right.
I teach social media, and I can track the decline, the decline of that, and the increase of us them.
Yeah.
With the growth of social media.
Yeah.
This instantaneous.
Yeah.
Depressing.
Yeah, it is. But Clausewitz, once said you should fight a battle on the ground of your own choosing. Well, great if you have that choice, but you don't always have that choice. And I think we have to fight the battle where the battle is, and that's on social media these days. Yeah.
Well, there we go. Well,
now we're depressed.
Well, now we're going to wrap it up with something good. Get your copy of book. It's book 3 of the trilogy, of the Danny Ryan trilogy, and it's City in Ruins, a novel by Don Winslow, who's been our guest. So thank you for being here, Don.
Thank you for having me, guys. It's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it. So
thank you very much.
Yeah, really, really fun. So you guys be well, and let's
do our best.
Let's work on that shoe choice.
This has been a production of the House of Mystery Radio Show. To find out more about our show, guests, or hosts, go to our website at houseofmysteryradio.com.